Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Homewrecker Podcast. I am the Golden Greek Alex Arion, joined as always by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, amazing trophy wife, Monique. Monique, how are you?
Hello, I'm wonderful, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, fantastic
Yay.
as always. Yeah, pretty excited. We got a really good show planned today. At least I think it's going to be a good show. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Talking about a show that
Oh, documentary.
a documentary.
It's not like a TV show.
Docuseries?
It's a docuseries, yes.
Is that the correct term?
Yes.
I guess that's the technical term for it, right?
Yes.
Hellier.
Yes. I've been wanting to talk about this show.
We've mentioned it in the past.
Spoilers coming.
Yeah, lots of spoilers. So we're going to talk about the show Hellier. But for those of you that are joining us for the first time, again, I'm the Golden Greek Alex Arion. I came from the world of professional wrestling. I was a pro wrestler for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird when I say it like that. It makes me sound old.
Well, you are old. I'm kidding. I love you.
It's not how I thought that was going to go.
Oh.
I was kind of trying to feed...
You're only as old as you feel. How's that?
That fair enough.
Yay.
I was trying to feed you to put me over a little bit there. But anyway, I guess that didn't work the way I wanted it to. Anyhow.
Sorry. Whoops.
So we are a married couple. As I said, my trophy wife, Monique. And we talk about different things every week. We come on here and we'll talk about paranormal stuff, unexplained things, UFOs, aliens, conspiracies.
It's pretty much everything we like.
And yeah, stuff that's always interested us. We even talk some pro wrestling here and there.
Relationships.
And, I mean, we've had a show talking about birthdays.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we just talk about pretty much whatever tickles our fancy. And the name Homewrecker comes from the fact that, again, we are married and we don't always agree and see eye to eye. And sometimes it gets a little heated.
Yeah.
So, if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. And for those of you who have listened and watched before, welcome back. I'm excited about today's show.
I'm so
excited.
excited.
I did again. I keep hitting my darn mic. I really got to figure something out with this.
You gotta work on that. For me, like if I hit it, I talk with my hands. I'm French, it's okay. But for you, I don't know what your excuse is.
Well, I talk with my hands a lot too, which obviously people before we started doing the video never knew. But I'm always moving my hands. I've actually been less animated because I'm trying not to hit the darn mic. But
we're so stiff. We're like.
Yeah, right.
Not moving.
but I'm just gonna whatever.
Whatever.
I'm gonna be myself.
You be you, baby. You be you.
And hopefully everybody. See, there I go again. Hopefully everybody listening and watching has as much fun as we do doing this.
Yeah.
So, Hellier.
Okay, I just want to say, if you have not watched this docuseries, there's 2 seasons. Stop what you're doing right now and watch it because we are talking about stuff, so there's lots of spoilers you're not going to be able to follow. Just go watch it. And we understand that this might not be the kind of thing everyone is into.
Yeah, I mean, well...
I don't know why, but...
Well, I think I was speaking to you earlier about it, and I was saying how me 10 years ago may not have enjoyed this show as much as I enjoyed it now. Maybe I would have, I don't know, but it's a very, and as you already said, we are going to be giving away lots of spoilers, so if you are going to watch it and you haven't yet, just shut us off now.
Go do it now.
Go watch the show. It's free on YouTube.
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime, and I believe they have it on their website as well.
Yeah.
So
there's no excuse.
There's no excuse. So we'll put links in the show notes for everybody as well. Yeah, there's no excuse not to see it. So anyhow, it's a show that is very... I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. It's very detailed. There's a lot... It's not long-winded. That's not correct. But they don't cut any corners for entertainment value. They seem to give you all the details of the case, and I'm sure there's stuff that they've left out for privacy reasons and other things, but for the most part, it's very detailed, and there's so many pieces to the puzzle of this story that they haven't left anything out. They tie it all together as best they can. And we'll try to explain as best we can as well.
And we're not going to get into like every little detail. We're just going to hit on some points and talk about it.
Yeah.
But it's gonna talk about stuff in it that if you haven't watched it, it could spoil it for you. So we suggest just go watch it.
Yeah,
first.
just go watch the show. It's awesome. Like I said, we obviously thoroughly enjoyed it. If you enjoy listening to us talk, I think you're going to like it because it covers a lot of stuff that we talk about, a lot of the topics that we hit and that we discuss, try to dissect. And the folks that are involved in it, first thing I noticed about the show when we were watching it was that it's a docu-series, but it's produced very well.
Oh, yeah. Carl Pfeiffer is the one who directed it.
Yeah.
And he did an amazing job. He did wonderful. Yeah,
and it's shot really well. It doesn't look, it's not, shaky cam or nothing like that. It's
very high quality.
Yeah, it looks like something that was, produced by like a network or something. So at first I'm like, wow, this is really like well done. I actually questioned, is this a legit thing or is this like a produced TV show with a script and everything, But no, it's a legitimate docu-series. It's documenting the events that befell these individuals that are involved in it, and there's a soundtrack too. So it's just very well put together. So it's for the people that are into like the UFO paranormal research kind of stuff. There's stuff in there. There's
Mothman.
Yeah, and it's
like
just put together so well in a really easy to digest format, I guess is probably the best way to put it, because again, you've got your soundtrack, the editing in it, and everything is just so well done.
I think overall the people you're watching are likable.
Yeah, that too. That obviously helps.
Because if you don't like somebody and you're watching it, it makes it very difficult, even if the topic is really interesting.
Agreed. So yeah, that was the first thing that caught me. So hats off to Carl Pfeiffer, who did a fantastic job with putting this whole thing together, and everybody.
Yes,
but
the whole team.
That was the first thing that got me, and I mentioned it to you too. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, let's talk about the players. Let's talk about the people involved in this series.
Okay.
So we have, as we mentioned, Carl Pfeiffer, and he is a director. He has done some web series. He was a resident paranormal investigator at the Stanley Hotel for a point in time. So he comes in, and there's Greg and Dana Newkirk. And together they have...
Married couple.
Yes, they're a married couple, and they were both ghost hunters. And that's how they say that they met. And then they started working for Planet Weird and Weekend Weird. And
I think that's their site.
Yes, like that's what they started doing.
So they don't work for it.
Well, they do it. And they do paranormal investigations, and they have a paranormal museum as well. So they do a lot of stuff with paranormal. Then we have Connor Randall, and he worked at the Stanley Hotel with Carl.
Right.
So we have those people. They all bring something to the table in this documentary. And as we kind of go along, if hopefully you've watched it, and you can just, again, I appreciate everything that each person brings to the table, because it's a different mindset, it's different experiences, and it kind of makes everything complete. That's how I feel with these people involved. And like I said, they're really likable.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have thoughts on them?
On the people?
On the people.
Yeah, everybody, everything you said. I mean, they're very likable. Like, you mentioned Greg and Dana Newkirk are the married couple. Paranormal investigators. They have the Traveling Museum of the Weird, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
And they basically go around, and they have a museum that they bring different haunted objects and artifacts and things like that, and put them on display at various, like horror conventions and things like that, I believe.
Yeah.
I was not too familiar with them until this series. So, and same thing with the other players. I was not familiar with them. But again, they all very likable, as you said, and very. Another thing that I think added to the likability, for me, how just kind of get up and go they are, like that attitude that they have.
Yeah.
They're very
cautious, but let's do it.
So and so is only 4 hours away. Let's just get in the car and go talk to him.
And
all right. I
we
like
watched
that.
that.
Like, I thought that was cool. Like, yeah, why don't more people do that?
We're like, if we didn't have kids, we'd be doing that all the time.
Sure,
yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So I really like that spirit that they have. They're going to investigate something or get into something. They're all in, and I thought that was really great. And again, very the just the different viewpoints that they had and the ways that they approached the topics and the different things that were thrown their way, all the different scenarios. It's like, wow, I would have never thought of that.
Yeah.
So they're very intelligent. There's shots of them in their home, and there's books everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I would be in heaven in a place like that.
I know, we're like, we need a library in our next house.
Yeah, big time.
For all of our books.
So yeah, just everybody very likable.
And I want to add, like, I popped when I saw Dana reading tarot. I was like, oh yay, because I read tarot. So I just thought that was really cool to see somebody else doing that and using it the way that she did.
I popped that you just said I popped.
Did you really pop though?
No. I guess I didn't pop.
No.
You
popped on the inside.
Yeah, I was popping on the inside.
Yeah.
Popped means got excited. Cheered. Yeah. Popped. Anyhow, I gotta stop hitting this microphone.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, gosh.
Oh my.
Anyhow, all right. So there's 2 seasons, and they're both available to watch, as we said now. And the first season is 5 episodes, and it's 10 episodes in the second season. They're about an hour long. I think some may go just under an hour, some go a little over, but roughly an hour long.
But they all fit very well. When we watched it, each episode was like, oh my God, we need to stay up. We need to watch what's happening next. It just really pulls you in.
It wasn't that dramatic. My reaction was.
Oh, I was.
Oh my God.
On the inside.
Okay.
I remember like, oh, should we go to sleep or should we? Like, we're asleep at 9 o'clock. We're up till like 11 because we're like, oh, let's just watch the next one. Yeah. It's very captivating.
Yeah, like I said, very well done the way it was all put together, and obviously it's real, right? Or as far as we know, it's
allegedly.
Real. Allegedly, hypothetically.
We always put that disclaimer in there.
So go ahead. Why don't you start us off? How does this whole thing start? Because and let me just say, it's going to start in one place, and it's going to end. Well, it hasn't even ended yet. It's still going. So
it takes you one place, and it just kind of goes everywhere.
So where does this start?
But it starts in 2012 when Greg gets an email from some guy saying he's in Hellier, Kentucky, and talking about these weird little green children-like beings that are outside of his home, and they're causing issues, and they're scaring his daughter or granddaughter. And at the time, I guess Greg couldn't really do much about it. He was interested in it, but they emailed back and forth.
Well, what was weird about it was that Greg and a bunch of his friends when they were younger they were ghost hunters, and they had a ghost hunting website, and the picture on the website is of them as kids, and they're all decked out in just the way teenagers would dress if they're ghost hunters, right? They've got paintball guns and baseball bats and stuff like that. Yeah. They're kids. They're teenagers. And he said that it was a site that hadn't been updated in a long time, but he still would check the email occasionally. And so he gets this email to this website that hasn't been updated. It doesn't look like it's active really anymore. And if you're a person going on the website, you think it's a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
So that's what was kind of weird.
And it was the email. It was that email. He just happened to upkeep it. So that's kind of bizarre.
Right.
Now that's 2012. And fast forward to 2016, Carl Pfeiffer comes in and he's listening to the Euphemet podcast, and Greg's on there as a guest.
Did you say what you said what the email was about? You did. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Sure. Can I go? He listened to the podcast, Greg was on it, and he was talking about goblins. And from there, a lot of strange synchronicities happen, and they decide to get together and investigate this Hellier, Kentucky Goblin type of thing. What's going on with it?
Well, there's a story of the Kentucky Goblins. That's why they were thinking these are goblins, because in the 50s, there was a story of a home being invaded by goblins, essentially.
Yeah.
It was a very famous story, but we're not going to get into that story now. But that's why they're going on goblins. That's why they're thinking that may be what this is.
And so they get together because just all these synchronicities in a way kind of brought them together to go investigate, and they go to Hellier, Kentucky. Now, Greg and Dana go, was it maybe a year before, to scope it out, and they talk to people, and then they come back with, oh, and I'm so sorry, I forgot to mention Rashid Sizemore. He was the cameraman, because I'm going to bring him up later. But so all of them come together, the 5 of them, they go to Hellier, Kentucky to start an investigation.
Yes. So there is a cameraman who's documenting everything, along with Carl Pfeiffer, who also is holding the camera. I think they all kind of.
I think they all kind of do it.
They all have. There's like their cell phone footage is interspliced. Everything, like I said, everything's really well done. So, and very from what I could gather and my viewpoint, very thorough.
Yeah.
So
ultimately,
so they go to Hellier the year before.
They scope it out. They talk to some people, and then they go back home. And then they come back with Connor and Carl and Rashid.
But why
Greg and Dana do.
But why did they decide to go and look into this?
Well, they can watch it. I don't want to talk about each little detail. I just kind of want to get to our thoughts.
There's kind of important things.
Synchronicities brought them together. I think that's all we should leave it, because we want, just in case somebody didn't watch it. I don't want to give it all away. Well, what are you getting at?
All right, nice response. That's fine. So anyway, let's end the show.
No, what are you getting at?
You're not going to talk about, you got one email. That's all you've mentioned. You didn't mention the follow-up emails, the correspondence.
That's in my list of stuff to talk about.
Okay, that's how they get to the point where they're going to go and investigate. That's my point.
Okay, so
he corresponds back and forth with the guy that's telling him this story.
Yes.
And he finally gets pictures of footprints of these goblins, aliens, whatever they are.
These things.
They're 3-toed footprints. Mm-hmm. They've got dermal ridges, which means that you can see if you look at your hand
or your foot, those little lines.
You can see the lines in your skin. Well, that's what these prints all had, which made everybody that looked at the prints think that they were legitimate, but they couldn't explain what animal made them. Mm-hmm. They were unexplained, but they looked legitimate because of the dermal ridges. So if they were faked, hell of a job faking it, because it's not something that's very simple to do.
And I thought about that. How would you go about faking it? I think you'd have to make a kind of prosthetic type foot. Something, again, these are the things I think about. Like something like that. That's the only thing I could think about.
Yeah. I
could think of to do that.
It would be very difficult to fake.
It would be a pain in the ass.
Right. So that's what led them to say, okay, let's go and look into this.
And he had these pictures too of them.
That's right. And he had pictures of what appeared to be, you can't really tell because they're taken at night.
Yeah.
And it's dark. But it looked like one of the pictures. We've watched the show twice now. We've gone through and rewatched it again. And I still, on the second viewing, I couldn't make out what they were saying was in one of the pictures.
I could kind of see it.
I couldn't see it. So it didn't, to me, it didn't look like anything. But there was one picture that was really, really looked like something. It looked like it definitely could have been something that doesn't look like a person. So...
Yeah, so we had these pictures. So they're corresponding with this guy from Hellier, and then all of a sudden communication stops. Also in between, they get an email from a guy named Terry Wrist. And Terry Wrist has it's a really weird couple sentences, and the spelling, it's like spaces in between the words, like how...
Yeah, he spells words kind of weird.
He puts weird spaces in between.
Sure. Yeah.
Which makes you think is a code for something. And they know of him because of a book by Alan Greenfield.
No, they didn't know who he was.
I thought they
Googled to find out where's this name coming from.
Okay.
And then they found the book, Secret Cipher of the Euphonauts by Alan Greenfield. And he's got an interview in the back of that book where he's talking about these goblins and beings. Did you pay attention when we watched this show? I don't want to give away all the details. Is it because you don't know the details, maybe? Yes, is that what it is?
Because I'm stupid and I know nothing.
Because I'm a blonde.
Yeah. Because I'm a blonde. Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
Back on track. So, Terry Wrist writes these strange emails, and they look into who he is, and it kind of compels them to want to.
Well, they can't find out who he is.
Not who he really is, but they found of him
is the interview in this book, but they can't really figure out anything else of who he is.
But it's just this weird connection somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the whole point is figuring out, like, who wrote this email, who is Terry Wrist really, and what the hell's going on in Kentucky.
Yeah, so they get these emails from him. They correspond back and forth a little bit. He sends them some what looks like coordinates, possibly.
Yeah,
it's just a like long string of numbers, and they presume that they are. I think they go back and forth. They think at first, it's a credit card number, and they think, oh wait, no, it's
coordinates.
Coordinates to something.
Yeah, like GPS coordinates.
And the GPS coordinates are right near Brown Mountain, which is a UFO hotspot. So they thought that was kind of strange. So anyway, go ahead.
So, and there was some other things on...
There's a whole bunch of stuff that happens. You can't give every single detail because
But even like with those numbers, there was another number, there was a word, and that kind of comes into play later. But just trying to figure out what that is. And it's all this stuff driving them to want to go investigate. So... it's interesting because while they're driving to Hellier, Carl is reading the emails and he discovers something that ties in Mothman and Injured Cold.
Yes.
And that was really interesting. It's like, okay, so, and that's kind of the whole thing. You go in one direction, it kind of goes everywhere. So you're thinking, okay, going to Kentucky, gonna go look for some goblins. And yes.
The Mothman Prophecies. They were listening to the Mothman Prophecies audiobook on their drive. And while he's listening to it, he's looking through these emails from the initial person who we didn't even name. David M. Christie was the name that was given. And the Terry Wrist stuff. He's looking through a printout of them, and he figures out something that refers to Injured Cold, who is the alien or man in black or entity, or we still don't know what or who Injured Cold was, but he's referred to in that email and referred to in the interview that appears in the Secret Cipher of the Euthnauts with Terry Wrist. Go ahead.
So that was just really interesting that it's like, okay, whoa, now there's this coming, like these things are tying in together.
Yeah, it's not just goblins, now it's Mothman,
maybe Men in Black, maybe aliens,
UFOs.
Yeah. So it's going in all these weird different directions. And that's almost the theme to this whole docuseries is you think you're going one way and then it's like, oh, whoa, now we're way over here. And then we're over there and it's awesome and crazy and strange.
It's very weird.
But it's entertaining.
If you're into this kind of thing, yes. It's definitely captured my imagination anyway. So
it leaves you wondering, like, what is going on?
Yeah, what the hell is going on?
And just the synchronicities.
Yeah, I mean, the synchronicities play a part, of course, but I think, I don't know, some of the stuff was just kind of, I don't know, I guess I could see where some people might think that, well, is that really a synchronicity? Or is that just a coincidence? Is that some of the things? But
I think it's also perspective. You know,
I guess
depending on your perspective.
It's all on how you look at it, I guess.
Like, and they talk about synchronicities. For me, I always took synchronicities as the universe saying that you're on the right path. Keep looking around you, be aware, but you are on the right path. Is that kind of how you feel about them?
I don't really have an opinion, I guess, as far as like what they mean. I've experienced them, I guess.
We get them all the time.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what they mean, if they mean anything at all. I don't know. What you say makes sense, so I could get on board with that. Mm-hmm. But I don't really know what, if anything, they mean. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I know that's not what you're looking for, but
No.
just being honest.
So they're in Kentucky, and they go to the same spot where Greg and Dana went. Was it a year before?
A year or so before.
Or so, yeah.
Yes.
And when they went the first time, they had a bunch of people talk about all this stuff happening. And then the second time, they go with everyone.
What do you mean all this stuff happening? Like, you gotta give some detail. You're being really broad with some of this stuff.
Seeing Bigfoot, seeing UFOs,
yeah, so
lights
they're
in the sky.
speaking with the locals at a gas station, and they're getting reports of weird, crazy stuff that happens in Hellier.
Everyone's talking about all these strange things that happen in Hellier.
Yes.
Now, fast forward to they're there making this documentary. Nobody's talking about anything. It was kind of weird. It made me wonder, is it like everyone's like, oh yeah, these people came and they were asking about this. And then everyone's like other people like, yeah, don't talk about that. If they come back, you don't say a word. It's like,
it was like a year or two later.
Yeah, I know. But maybe somebody told them to hush up. Again, all the thoughts that
they
go
went,
through my mind.
I don't know what day they went there, but it could be something as simple as the first time they went on like a Saturday afternoon in the summer, and then when they went back, it was like a Wednesday night. You know what I mean?
Or it could be that.
Yeah, or it could be your you're right. I'll just stop. You go ahead.
You sure? But there are people who come and they talk to him. There's a strange guy telling like, oh, be careful. They're asking around trying to find the guy, David, that wrote the original email.
Yeah, they're trying to find this guy,
all.
David M. Christie, and nobody has heard of him. And I think Hellier is only like a couple hundred people, isn't it? It's really small.
It's a small town.
It's not a big population.
I came from a somewhat, what we thought was a small town, and a lot of people knew everyone. It was not as small as Hellier. I understand, like, for the most part, knowing everyone, but I could also understand not knowing every single person that lives in the town. So it could be possible most people don't know of this guy, and especially if he didn't live there very long.
But there was another detail, too, that this person, David M. Christie, that sent the emails that started this whole thing, said that he was a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another thing that they were bringing up when they were asking about him, and most people are going to know if there's a doctor that lives in town, especially a small town like that. So nobody had heard of this guy. Nobody had heard of a doctor by that name living anywhere in Hellier or around Hellier. So I know what you're saying, but still,
I like to look at all sides.
Somebody of prominence, like a doctor.
But is he like
It's a small town.
Is he
people
like
are gonna know.
A medical doctor, or maybe he's like
Listen,
a doctor of the English language?
If you live in a small town of a couple hundred people where there's just like one big main road, and somebody new moves into the house that's been there for 50 years occupied by somebody else.
But didn't he say he was kind of secluded?
It doesn't matter. People are gonna see that somebody new moved into this house.
Possibly.
And they're gonna, I'm sure people talk, or people might see a new person going to the grocery store or to the gas station to get gas. Somebody will have seen this person if they've lived there for 6-7 months.
I get that. I just try to look at it like this guy said he was remote. He wanted the seclusion. So maybe that could be why people didn't hear of him. I'm just going over my thoughts as these things happen as we're watching.
Fine. Fair enough, I guess, but it's not likely. Is it impossible? No, but it's not likely. People talk, especially in a small town. There's nothing else to do. They all talk to each other. They all, for the most part, know each other. They don't all have to get along, but they all know, okay, this person lives in this house or whatever.
I get it. I get your point.
Great.
I see the value in it. So they're looking for this guy. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to be respectful. I'm trying to be nice.
Go ahead.
They're looking for this David guy. They're not having any luck. The first night they are at the gas station. It's like kind of like the go-to place, it seems, in town. They're there. They're trying to get information from people. And then I think it was the next day, they go, was it Pike County? To go look up records and try to talk to like the police department.
Yeah, nobody would help them.
There's like they contact like the news station, like trying to get any bit of information, and just nobody said anything. And maybe go try the radio station, try this or that, but they couldn't reach anyone at the police department. It was very bizarre.
So they got nowhere. It was a dead end.
Yeah.
They got nowhere finding this guy. They couldn't find the house. They thought that they knew where it was. They thought that they maybe had seen it their first visit there, but they weren't sure because the guy never gave an address or anything, just that he lived in Hellier. Gave a description of his house, but they couldn't find it. They thought maybe they saw it, but they weren't sure. It was never verified. And there was no records of anybody by that name or of a doctor living in that town. So that was strange.
Very weird. Oh my gosh. So
I'm just like, move along. Let's like get to we're going through like frame by frame of the show.
No. I'm trying to say like, so they're at this cabin like 20 minutes away from Hellier. And I want to get to the really interesting thing when they're on the porch and they're using the Estes method. It's using like a spirit box. They have like...
Yeah, explain what that is.
The person using, it's like a radio and it goes through the channels, but a lot of them have been kind of jimmied. So that way it's just the static going back and forth. And they cover their eyes. They use... noise reduction headphones so you don't get any outside noise. So you're just focusing
headphones that cancel out any noise.
So it's just focusing on the sound coming in, and you're trying to pick up if there's a spirit or someone or something trying to talk to you and communicate with you.
Any
you can
sounds
listen.
Or any voices that come in through the frequency, between the frequencies.
Yeah.
So the person that has the headphones on can only hear the static.
Yeah.
And any words that may come through in the static in those frequencies.
So Connor did that.
And he cannot hear anybody else out around him. So if he's sitting next to me and he's got all this stuff on and I'm trying to talk to him, he can't hear me because he's got static and blasting into his ears. And he's got the noise canceling headphones that are covering his ears.
And he's blindfolded, so he can't see.
Yeah, he's got his eyes covered, so he can't see or hear anything but what's going into his head. Or into his ears, excuse me.
Yeah. And
just want to make sure it's clear so people understand what you're talking about.
Well, hopefully they watched it.
Okay, go ahead.
So they're out on the front porch, and they're doing this, and they're asking questions, and it's weird because Carl's name keeps coming up. And it's kind of bizarre, like, oh, you're picking on this one person. And
they're basically having a conversation.
Yeah, they're
with
having
someone
a
or
conversation
something coming through Connor. He's channeling or somebody speaking to him. And
a lot of stuff just made sense. Like some stuff didn't with the conversation, but a lot of stuff kind of fit in with what
sort
the
of
questions
kind of.
they were
But
asking.
again, it's edited too because they killed a lot of the dead time, of course. So it's edited. We don't know everything. And again, I've heard interviews with some of the people that have been in the show. They didn't release and put everything into the show for whatever reason. They have their reasons, obviously. So most of the stuff, it seems like they're having a coherent conversation with Connor, who's just spouting words that he's hearing through his headphones. He doesn't know what they're asking or what they're saying. He can't see nothing. So it sounds like they're having somewhat of a conversation. But then towards the end of the session, he stops because he says he had a vision, like something.
An image popped
into his head of a tin can, which is kind of weird because he said of all the times that he's done this Estes method, which he's
I think over 100 times.
He's done it a bunch of times at the Stanley Hotel and things like that. So he's experienced in the thing, but he's never had a vision, any kind of a visual image or anything like that come to him. So he thought that was weird, and he obviously made note of it. So anyhow, moving on from that, after that, what do they do?
Do you want me to kind of jump to when they
just
go to
jump
the cave?
To
so they decide to go, I think it was the following night, they go to this cave. And while they're in this cave, they find a tin can. It was really crazy. And Connor's like, this is what I saw.
Yeah, it's like, this is the exact same can that I saw.
So what did you think about that?
I thought it was strange. If it's a put on, if it was an act, I'm not an acting coach. But I feel like I can judge good and bad acting. If he was acting, did a hell of a job. I think it was legit. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I come from the world of pro wrestling. I can tell a put on most of the time because I was doing that for so long. it seemed legitimate to me. I thought it was pretty weird. So but I didn't really think too much of it. Just like, that's kind of strange that there's a tin can, and that's what he mentioned seeing the day before or 2 days prior during that session.
It's as if whatever they're doing, the powers that be that are kind of pulling the strings on it. Yeah.
They call it the phenomenon.
It's saying like, yes, you're doing what we want you to do and you're on the right track. But what is it that...
Yeah, but what's going... Yeah, they started going looking for goblins.
Yeah.
Got dead ends every time they tried to find the person that sent them the initial email. That was a dead end. They couldn't find him anywhere. We left out... There was the cameraman actually mentioned, why... Have you ever looked to see where those emails came from? Have you ever looked at the IP addresses that they came from? And now I'm hitting your microphone.
Oh,
my gosh.
Okay. I still love you.
I love you too. Thank goodness. And he mentioned, have you ever looked into the IP addresses of the emails? And it had never occurred to them. And it's funny because you know me, I'm into technology and that kind of thing. And watching the show, that didn't occur to me either. And so it's like, when the cameraman mentioned it and said it, I was like, what the hell? Why didn't they do that? Like, that's true, yeah. And then I was like, man, why didn't I think of that? Like, why didn't that occur to me either? Like, it's just so, it was kind of
I think because you're just so wrapped up in
kind of
everything.
a funny moment, yeah. But so they go and they're routing or tracing the IP addresses of the emails, and they find out that they came from Canada, and that's where Greg was living at the time. So they immediately get pissed off, understandably so, because they think that they've just been put on. This has all just been a big hoax and somebody leading them around and messing with them.
And not just that, but being like, if they're so close to you, it's like, do you know these people? And what are their intentions? What are their motives? So that's kind of freaky. Yeah.
But they call somebody up who's into tech, who's like a tech whiz, and kind of walks them through that their email was just bouncing around different servers. Using a VPN, exactly. So the email could have come from anywhere. It could have come from Hellier, but it could have, if the person was using a VPN, you're not going to know where it originated from, and it bounces in so many different areas before it gets to the actual destination point that it's hard to trace it. So that was a little encouraging. It kind of brought them back a little bit from the edge of being like, oh, we totally got messed with. So that was good. But that was my first thought, was probably was a VPN. Like, it had to be a VPN. Because as we're watching it, I know there's a second season, so I know what goes on. It's not a hoax. So I didn't have that thought in my mind, but I immediately thought, okay, probably just use a VPN.
That's what I thought too. It's probably, but I think too, when you're in that moment, you're not thinking about this stuff. No, of course not. You're just kind of like, wait a minute, what's going on?
They're in the town that the email said all this stuff, crazy stuff is going on at. Yeah, that's not what you're thinking. Is they probably just used a VPN. You're emotional, you're upset, you're angry. Of course, I get all that. Yeah. But yeah, when the cameraman said that, it was like, aha, yeah, why didn't you do that? And then they do it, and then of course we find out, that probably was just a VPN, but still let them know where they still have no idea who sent the emails, where they came from. So,
is it real? Was it a ruse? Like, what's going on?
So they start to think and hypothesize that maybe it was the author of the book, Complete Secret Cipher of the Euthanauts. Was it Alan Greenfield? Was he messing with them? Was he sending them out on this wild goose chase?
But I think that kind of came later.
Well, they were saying, was it him? They were kind of asking that all along, because they don't know who this Terry Wrist person is, and that's the thing we didn't mention.
It's like the only link.
Terry Wrist. If you say it fast, terrorist. It's kind of like it's like a pseudonym or something. It's like an alias. It could be, right? So it's kind of one of those things where they weren't really sure, again, who sent them where, or who sent them to go where they were at, and they didn't know where they're going. There's no.
It's so weird. It's like watching it is almost like a dream. It's weird, just like all the weird things where you're going and you think you're going somewhere and then you're somewhere else. It's almost like a dream.
Yeah, kind of. I can see that. Yeah, but eventually. They start looking for goblins, and spoilers, there's no goblins. We don't see goblins in this show. I'm not saying there's no goblins that exist.
Not that we see.
There's none that you see in this show. No goblins. but they are taken in all these other different directions, and it's like that's why we say you have to watch it, because it's hard to explain everything and have it make sense just talking about it on a podcast. Like I said, they do such a great job in over 5 episodes of the first season in putting all these various pieces as together as they can to form the story of what's going on.
Because with everything that happens, it's like you're getting pulled everywhere. So even just talking about it, it's like it's so easy to just kind of get pulled in one thing and then like, okay, I gotta come back because then we're gonna go over here. It's a lot to process.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that go on. It goes in so many different directions. So, how does season 1 end?
Why don't you tell everybody?
No.
Why not? I just feel like you're gonna...
What?
I feel like you're gonna kind of be like, oh, okay, come on.
No, go ahead. Tell us how season 1 ends. So we can go on to season 2, because we're already almost an hour in.
Are we really?
Well, 42 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I'll edit all this out. All this, not for you. You get to see this all.
Oh, boy.
But if you want to listen to a little bit more of a polished conversation.
Before we talk about how things end, I want to talk about Rashid the cameraman. Because there were scenes, I just want to bring this up.
Oh,
there were scenes. There were scenes where, because it starts off with them walking in a field.
This dude's ballsy. That's what I'm gonna say.
And then, like, towards the end, you realize where they are. They're at the cave, and it's just there's parts where they're doing things, and he's like left alone, and everyone's leaving him, and he's just there. Like the lights are starting to go out, and I just remember thinking, like, why are they leaving him? I get they're trying to get the shot. Like, I don't know. I just kind of feel like, man, that poor guy. Being left alone with the camera, no lights.
Especially like when they're in the middle of the forest and in the caves and stuff.
They're like in the cave.
He's like shooting them off in the distance, and he's still back in the cave, filming them as they're walking away. I'm just thinking to myself, man, that guy's got balls. Because what if there are goblins, and now he's all by himself, and the goblins come and get him? And
they're like
2 a.m, or pitch black, there's no lights anywhere. Yeah.
That dude's got balls.
That's what I said.
Yeah, props to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
but so they...
Well done, Rashid.
Yes, very good job.
Yeah.
Bravery.
So go ahead.
So they go to this cave, and they... Was this the one where Greg... I forget what it's called, but he puts like the ping pong balls...
Yeah, he puts like ping pong balls over his eyes.
I forget what the method is called.
I'm not sure either. They did a bunch of stuff in this that I'd never heard of before, but I was like, what was this?
Wow, it's very interesting.
It's pretty neat if you believe in that kind of thing.
And basically it's like, again, sounds cut off, and his sight, like, it's kind of like cutting off your senses.
Right.
And it allows you to kind of see like what visions are coming to you. And I was curious, like, because everyone has some sort of psychicness in them. It's just how open are you to it? And some people are just more open than others. So I'm just curious, like, does he utilize his psychic abilities? Like, because that seems like one way to do it. But so you're looking to get visions, and he's talking about one weird part where, is he like in a field or something, and he's laying down, and then there's like a face that comes over him. He's like, oh, I don't like that. And I'm just thinking, like, would I be so calm? I don't know. If something was freaking me out, I don't know if I'd be that calm. I might be like, fuck this. And like,
I wouldn't be. He was very composed.
Yeah.
But he said he got really cold.
Yeah, I was saying it got really cold, but they checked the temperature right by him, and it was 1 degree higher.
Yeah. Yeah, he was very composed for what he was describing and what he was experiencing. Because I'm the same as you. I would have probably freaked out a little bit. I'd been like tearing those ping pong balls off my eyes and just been like, what the help, you know?
Like, I've gotten visions before that look kind of creepy, but I wasn't scared by it. So maybe that's the thing. Like, you're not a fan of it, you don't really like it, you're not super comfortable, but it's not at the point of like, I need to get out of here. So maybe that's what was going on.
Well, obviously he's the only one that knows that.
No, but just interesting because also Dana used her tarot card. She used it, I think it was at the motel the first night they were in Hellier before they went to the cabin.
Yeah.
And then she used her cards again when they were in that cave.
Yes.
And it was interesting because some of the stuff coming up is like they're being pulled along, maybe manipulated. And it is very interesting because everything is about perspective, and knowing tarot and kind of seeing that situation, it's like, yeah, you could take it that way. So it was just very bizarre. Like, again, I read tarot and I believe in it.
What was bizarre about it? That she
Just
was reading tarot cards? What was bizarre?
No. Just how everything fit in.
Okay.
It just fit in. And for me, I was like, I believe in it and it makes sense. But I guess I appreciated it. And I thought, wow, it fits in. And it's weird though, just because it was so everywhere. And if they're being manipulated and being led on all these paths, it's just, you want to know what is really going on. And unfortunately, we don't really find out at the end of season 1.
At the end of season 1, you're left going, no goblins?
But I have 50 other questions.
Yes. But yeah, I wanted to get right into season 2.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we didn't watch it when it first came out, because then I would have had to wait to see what happened.
Oh, we're impatient.
Yeah.
We don't like to wait.
Right. So, yeah, that was season 1. It ended with them nowhere close to figuring out who David Christie was, were there goblins, who the hell is Terry Wrist,
Yeah.
what are these numbers he's sending, what are these coded messages he's sending, what does all of it mean, what does it have to do with Indrid Cold and John Keel and the Mothman prophecies, what the hell is going on?
You kind of go starting with one question.
That's what we
and
said.
then you leave with like 50. And I just want to bring up one thing we didn't talk about is Tyler Strand, because he comes up in season 2.
He has like a 2-minute part in this show in season 1.
He messages them, he texts them about something, and then he calls them. They're talking about like what he's talking about, just kind of, again, synchronicities string into what was going on.
It just so happened to go and tie into what they were involved with.
So I just wanted to mention that because he's in season 2. So I thought I'd mention it now.
Since you brought it up, one of the interesting coincidences with his part in this, when Connor is doing the Estes method and they're in the cabin and they're outside and they're doing that whole deal and he sees the tin can and all that, he mentions 48 and they wrote down 48, and when they got off the phone with Tyler Strand, they had talked for exactly 48 minutes and 48 seconds. So this was after the Estes method thing had happened. So just kind of another one of those synchronicities, one of those weird coincidences that happened. It was just kind of strange. I mean, they hold up the phone right after they have to look at it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those like, that is pretty weird. And if it was something that they had scripted out and planned, hell of a job, fellas and lady. But I don't think that's what's going on here. I think that there's definitely something happening with the crew from Hellier. And again, Hellier is the name of the show, but the show itself takes place all over the place. It's not just there. That's actually a very small part or location for the show.
But it's a good title because it started because we were going to watch something. We never get time. We don't watch TV. And once in a while we'll watch a movie, and it was like, I want to watch something. I want to watch a documentary, which is not me at all. And you're like, oh, I heard about this, Hellier. And I was like, okay, go on. Just like the title captivated me, and we went on and, watched it, and here we are now.
Yes. So that was season 1.
Yes, 1, and it was fabulous.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Highly recommended. Go check it out. And I think what we're going to do is we'll stop here.
Yeah.
We will pick up next episode talking about season 2, because I don't want to go.
No, let's stop here and then we'll
stop here and we'll pick it up next episode. We'll talk about season 2, and that's a long one. It's 10
There's
episodes.
There's a lot of stuff, so we're going to kind of get right into everything.
Try to get right into everything with that. But we'd love to hear from you if you've seen the show, if you have your thoughts.
Yes.
I know you can follow us on Twitter at
Homewrecker Pod.
We have an Instagram as well.
Homewrecker Podcast.
And our website where you can go and interact with us on our forum.
Yes. Homewreckerpodcast.com.
That's it.
Yay.
So, if you haven't already, please go on over to iTunes, hit that subscribe button if you're listening right now, and give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it. It helps people to find the show.
Yes,
and
please.
If you're watching and you haven't already, hit that subscribe button on YouTube and help us grow our audience there as well. Please and thank you.
Yes, please and thank you.
And until next time, I am the Golden Greek Alexarian, and I've been joined, as always, by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, amazing trophy wife, Monique.
Thank you. And you've been listening to the Homewrecker Podcast.